Alrighty, we got multiplayer FPS games have changed. Ooh, the synthwave. Halo, yep, the good old days. The good old days of OG Call of Duty.
I want to start off this video by saying
Titanfall?
that I understand this is not a new conversation.
Yeah.
It's a whole genre of videos on YouTube now, and
Oh yeah, I've probably seen most of those. Is PC gaming dying? I don't know.
this topic can be found all over the internet. Gaming is dying. Games aren't fun anymore. Modern gaming is terrible. This content does tend to get a bit stale after a while, but I think it's a symptom of a real problem. In my opinion, I don't know if games have gotten strictly worse, but everything surrounding them certainly has.
I will say one thing, like getting older and seeing a lot of these videos of like gaming's dying, gaming isn't fun anymore, so on and so forth. I will say as you get older, I think you just simply have less time to play games because you have to spend more time at your job. You know, sometimes you get mandatoried, sometimes you just have to go in on that weekend or whatever, and you just don't have the same amount of time to spend just on video games as you used to. And because of that, you have to be more selective of the type of games that you, I don't know, tend to just buy and play. So, I don't know. It's just kind of complicated. I mean, I'm less adventurous in the types of games that I will just go and try out. Like when I was younger, I would play like sorts of different games from like different game genres and so on and so forth. And I would like just play the shit out of them and enjoy them. Now it's just like, bro, I'm taking what do I play? I'll play like some aim trainer. Taking a break. I'm playing the shit out of Monster Hunter recently. Kind of played finals and it's fun, but I just took a break from it. I'm just played Crab Champions. That's a good one. But I'm just playing Monster Hunter right now. I'm chilling, man.
While there are still amazing games that can still be found today, and while bad games can still be found from the past, I think there are a lot of worrying trends that I'd like to take a look at in today's video, specifically in the realm of first-person shooters.
Yeah.
To give a little bit of my personal history, Halo was the very first game I ever was introduced to.
Nice. Like for me, I don't think it wasn't Halo for me. Halo was the first game that I was exposed to LAN parties on, and that was so freaking fun. I remember, I think it was in middle school that I got exposed to like LAN parties because my buddy and his brother, who was also in middle school, we were like had a couple classes together. His whole family played Halo, like the mom, the dad, the sister, the aunt and uncle. They would all come over, and we would just have like a big ass like LAN party, and I thought that was the coolest thing. You know, they had the Halo on the big screen with like 2 or 3 people set up on that one. They had in the parents' room, they had, oh Jesus. Just saying that, it's like, ugh. Okay, never mind. The parents' room like had a big ass TV. We had like a 2 or 3 people in there, and then the brothers' room that had a bunk bed also had like not a big screen TV, but it was big enough to have at least like 2 people on it. Like if you did 3, it was like too tiny. And bro, it was so fun. Like we were just, anytime someone died, there was just shit talking just flying across the house. It was so good.
My dad would boot it up for the original Xbox and would let me play co-op with him. I didn't really get into multiplayer at the time, but that was pretty much the first experience and exposure I had to gaming, and that forever left a huge impression on me.
Oh, Battlefront!
Eventually, I would move on to different games. the OG Battlefront 1 and 2,
Hell yeah.
Battlefield 4, the later Halo games, and the original Destiny was always one of my favorites too.
Nice.
And of course, I fell in love with Titanfall. There
Yep.
are others I'm forgetting to mention right now, but these games helped shape my childhood
Oh yeah.
and my gaming experiences growing up. A lot of them I have really fond memories with, and a lot of them still hold up when I go back to revisit them. And some I really just haven't stopped playing since. But when I look at modern FPS titles, specifically multiplayer shooters, I can't help but feel let down.
Yeah.
Don't get
Multiplayer, FPS, free to play. Ooh. Live service. Ooh. Buzzwords. Ooh.
me wrong, things from the past, and especially from our childhood, we tend to remember the good parts of them, and
Yeah.
the rough edges or incomplete sections tend to fade away in our memories.
Wait. What?
Don't get me wrong, things from the past, and especially from our childhood, we tend to remember the good parts of them, and the rough edges or incomplete sections tend to fade away in our memories. It's easy to
I thought it was like reverse. You tend to remember the bad stuff and the good stuff fades away. I don't remember. I just remember like going over my buddy's house playing Halo a shit ton, and then a couple like years later playing the Call of Duties when I was working at CC's, having a ton of fun because there was this one, what was it, COD Ghosts? When I worked at CC's, like almost everybody there played COD, and at the time COD Ghost was out, and you know, in retrospect, we didn't really get why it was the bad COD. This is like a retrospective like understanding thing, but at the time, COD came out with this like little mobile app thing for smartphones, but I didn't have a smartphone, so I had to depend on my friends like in Xbox chat. And what you had to do was, I guess it was like a map, because I never saw the screen of the world, and like there were certain points on like, I don't know, the map that you had to take over, but in order to take over them, you had to do things like win 25 TDMs, win 25 dominations, win 25 like S&Ds, shit like that. So then once you did that, your clan held that point. And so what other clans did is they're just contesting and like queuing up for a specific point or like map type or mode or whatever. So if you're trying to capture the, like, let's say the TDM node, well, there's going to be a bunch of other teams trying to capture that TDM node as well. So you just have to either defend it or just cap it and move on, cap it and move on, cap it and move on. Or you could just play TDM a shit ton and try to defend this one. I like this because it made all the game modes like relevant. You know, because I think for Call of Duty, a lot of the times it's just like queue up either TDM or domination and just go in and just get a bunch of kills and whatnot. But having to play all these other modes kept them all relevant, because at the end of, I don't know, a season back then, if there was like 3 places that you could get, it was like first, second, third. If you got first place, you got like a gold skin with a gold gun for your character. And I think second place, it was like a red skin, and it was like all red, and like you got a gun skin. And then I don't know what third place got. I think they just got like a charm or some shit. But yeah.
I write off this feeling as nostalgia, because that is certainly part of why we look back on older games so fondly. But I'd like to posit that that's not the entire case. Now, before I bog down this video just talking about my feelings, I'd like to give some specific examples and lay out some key points on why I think first-person shooters have changed. There are some easy ones to point out, like how games across all genres today are oversaturated.
Yeah.
But I believe that goes hand in hand with the fact that there really isn't a whole lot of innovation anymore.
There's
The
not.
safest way to guarantee your game will be successful is if you follow popular trends and subgenres in gaming.
I mean, and it depends, like, obviously it depends from studio to studio. Like, the goals, I mean, you could say that, like, oh, we're making video games, we're making art, everything is, like, for the creative goodness and so on and so forth. You know, could tell it like Call of Duty used to have like really good stories, but like I think recently it was like just dog shit. Um, but there are a ton of other like shooters that had like really good stories, and they were just well done, or you really like the gunplay about a shooter, and so on and so forth. So in those aspects, it's like you can have like a little bit of creative variability there, but when it's done over and over and over again, year after year, it you just feel burnt out. And I don't know, like you can only innovate so much between having a gun and trying to take away someone's health. There's only so much you can do, and some games are try to push the boundaries of it, and it works, and then just some games don't.
We all know that the Battle Royale subgenre exploded over the past couple years.
Yeah.
And we did get some good Battle Royale games, but a lot of
Oh, yeah.
games are shifting or did shift to that style.
Jesus,
And
is this
I think
Titanfall
the
1?
FPS genre suffered for it. Call of Duty Warzone, Apex with the Titanfall series,
Yeah.
Fortnite, PUBG, and there are others, I'm sure. It's looking like the next trend is going to be extraction shooters, seeing the
God.
popularity of Tarkov, Hunt Show.
I don't know if they're going to be as extremely popular as Battle Royales are, because, bro, I don't like extraction shooters because it just opens up. It's just another avenue for cheaters. I mean, granted, you get cheaters in all sorts of FPS, but I would say more so in extraction FPS because there was more risk reward. The ratio of risk to reward in extraction shooters is so high. And you get so much benefit from, like, let's say you download cheats in Call of Duty. Who gives a shit? Like, what's the most you can do in Call of Duty? Like, maybe enter some, like, money tournaments or some shit. Or play Warzone and do, like, some Warzone tournaments and win money that way. I don't know if there are actually tournaments for, like, Tarkov or anything like that. But, I mean, just imagine, like, it would be the end if any of these like AAA titles, AAA shooters, made a shift into like NFTs or crypto, and they did that whole like pay to win thing. That would just be the end of it because cheaters would just be even more rampant in these types of games. Yeah, I was just going off a rant, but let's get back.
Down, and with upcoming games such as Exoborn and Marathon. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that all games have always been innovative in everything they do, but it used to be far more of a focus in the gaming industry, especially when multiplayer gaming was much more new in the early 2000s to 2010s.
Yeah.
Another complaint I hear a lot these days is that games are too competitive or not casual friendly. While this is probably the gaming landscape itself changing,
Yeah.
the people who play games and why we play games, a lot of it has to do with how games are designed.
Yeah. So if a developer is thinking about making an FPS and the word esports pops into their head, automatically they're going to start trying to figure out how to make the game esports friendly, trying to design like a tournament scene. And the second like a game starts feeling really competitive and really sweaty, it's 2023, and there has been a long history of FPSs that have gone through that, and like people have seen like the ups and downs of games so much that another game coming out is just another notch in the belt of, you know, the type of FPSs that you can just take advantage in. This is nothing new.
Specifically with skill-based matchmaking.
Oh, yeah.
Skill-based matchmaking is not a new thing at all in games.
Yep.
Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, the original one,
Yeah.
even had skill-based matchmaking back in 2007, which, by the way, can you believe that was approaching 17 years ago?
That's crazy.
But these systems, these algorithms were very rudimentary. Up until the mid to late 2010s, around 2016, 2017, games really didn't have consistent skill-based matchmaking. Nowadays, they do.
Oh, yeah. The consistency in matchmaking is unheard of. So much to the point where So I'll say this: most people, if you queue into a ranked game, people have no problem with matchmaking or skill based matchmaking. If you queue ranked, people do have an issue when skill based matchmaking is so strong and it bleeds over into the public match mode of your favorite FPS.
To a lot of people, the idea of skill-based matchmaking sounds good. Who wouldn't want to play in lobbies with others around their skill level? Well, a lot of people, as it turns out. Casual matches are kind of disappearing, with a push for each lobby you play in being competitive.
Yeah.
Since SBMM is dynamic, players often find games where they are overmatched, and queue times suffer as lobbies are no longer created based on region, which also impacts ping and server performance.
Yeah.
Do you remember booting up your favorite shooter, finding a lobby with a lot of fun people, and then rolling over to the next map with the same people after each match?
I remember. This was probably the last time I played a game for that was probably some Call of Duty. It was either Call of Duty or Halo back in the day. Was it original Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare? Those were probably some of the things that I remember, or the games, and I remember doing that again with Halo.
Jesus. That was a mouthful. That just doesn't really happen anymore. You're usually thrown back out.
Well, no, I mean, that's especially why they have, what do you call it? Even in the lobby, you can't even talk to the enemy team. Or a lot of times, you can't even talk to your own teammates unless the game starts, because there is just so much shit talking going on. It's like people can't even play with their own teammates without shit talking the teammates, let alone the enemy team.
Out to the lobby, and the matchmaking has to go through its process, finding the optimal groups of players around your skill level. Oftentimes, there are a lot of sacrifices that are made to get there. Another issue that comes with modern game design is live service games.
Oh, yeah.
This topic is especially one that's been discussed to death, so I won't really beat the...
You got to keep the game as a live service to justify the numerous amounts of microtransactions.
Dead horse here any more than I have to.
Yeah.
Progression systems in games used to be everywhere. The more you played, the more you unlocked. Everything was available at launch. If you threw yourself into a game and devoted yourself to it, you were going to be able to unlock a lot of cool stuff, whether that be skins or emblems or whatever the game offered to reward you for simply playing and enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, a lot of that progression is oftentimes just relegated to either microtransactions, where they've been locked behind a paywall, or they're locked behind predatory live service progression systems.
I mean, in the case for Call of Duty, you have you could take any gun, give it 100 levels, and then just somehow figure out to make 100 attachments for that gun. So in order for the gun to even be usable, you have to go through about 90% of the gun progression system. And even then, it's still not even, it's like, oh my God, I spent all this time. Now I have the right attachment because I watched the video, and this is the meta gun, and this is the meta attachments, and so on and so forth.
What I mean by that is that there are incentives to keep players logging in every single day. You gotta log in to collect your new item, but you gotta make sure you're following that battle pass before it moves on to the next one.
Yeah, and it's crazy to think that game devs haven't really, I mean, there's some devs that implemented the battle pass that you can just, let's say you came in on your favorite FPS during season 5, and you just can't even see the older game passes. Some games, I think Fortnite does this, some games let you buy the older battle passes just to complete them. And I think that's a really good thing that Fortnite does, as opposed to having the limited time battle pass. Oh my God, the new battle pass just dropped. I gotta max it out quick. Oh, if I don't feel like maxing it out, I'll just buy most of the levels and just play the last 10 levels.
There's a huge sense
FOMO.
of the fear of missing out, the FOMO, that really wasn't present in older games. I think the recent hashtag drama of the Game Awards perfectly illustrates this developer mindset.
Oh?
If you don't know, Christopher Judge, the voice actor for Kratos in the new God of War games.
Oh, are you gonna talk about when he like did that little diss on COD being only like 8 hours, or the campaign, or
made fun of the new Call of Duty campaign length, and the response from those COD developers is so enlightening.
Funny, but yeah, the metrics that COD absolutely destroys all of the God of War games, probably combined, to be honest, is always equally laughable, if not more. Bro, comparing COD to God of War is so stupid. Yes, they both fall under the umbrella that they are both video games, but if you just think with like more than 2 brain cells, it's like they're two completely different types of video games that cater to 2 completely different types of audiences. You're like making comparisons like of apples and oranges. Whoever wrote this is a fucking idiot, dude. Or imagine having short user engagement once your game is consumed. Can't relate. Hashtag Game Awards. Yeah, this person's probably talking about short user engagement. Wait, oh, having short user engagement once your game is consumed. Can't relate. Is this person talking about like whenever you buy God of War, then you just consume it and then you stop playing it? Or is this person talking about Call of Duty, like you like kind of like undulates and then it just like falls off? Like, what in God's name is this person talking about? Who the hell is like didn't God of War, was it Valheim? Or didn't they just release a like a roguelite into their game so people can just come back and play it infinitely? And it actually got good reviews. So this guy's an idiot.
It's all about metrics. It's all about keeping players online as long as they can.
Yeah, what happened to just making a good game and being satisfied with making a good game?
Even if player experience or fun takes a backseat in that process. I think I should mention that these tweets have since been deleted, but I really don't think it's just because of a change in heart or a change in design philosophy.
No, they deleted the tweets because everyone was shit talking them. And they didn't want to like have that conversation because it probably felt like a wave of like overwhelming like a bullshit they didn't want to deal with. It's like, okay guys, I get it, I'll delete the tweet, but I still think that was a good tweet. That's probably what they're thinking.
And instead was just a response to all the backlash they received. Even modern FPS games that are heralded as good still suffer a lot from modern design philosophy. Halo Infinite has been receiving a lot of praise for how good it is, or I should say how good it is now. The game launched 2 years ago and is just now finally getting to the point where players are overall satisfied with it.
Really? Bro, I think I played a little bit of Halo Infinite on release, and it was fun-ish for like the time I played with it. I mean, but I played on M&K. I know Halo is originally designed for like console and controllers, so I mean, not trying to shit on it or anything, but I played it, had my fun with it, and I was like, okay, I'm done. There's nothing else to do.
And then there are so many microtransactions
but to that point, that is how most gamers view video games. When a game comes out and it is so barren of content, then the player is going to consume the game up to a point and then stop playing it. For the most part, like the game, like if the game was shitty on release, then in that gamer's head, the game is forever shitty. It will forever be that day one game. Look at Cyberpunk. Look at No Man's Sky. Look at Halo Infinite. Okay. When those games first got dropped, they were all dog shit. I mean, I think they're all pretty good now, but just like, you're never going to get players to come back and reach that peak number and reach that number as high as it is on day one. So when you have the most people's attention, that's when you want to retain them. by releasing a good game with a lot of content. If you release like a dud, because a lot of gamers don't care about investing time and effort into a game that could be good. If the game is good, they're gonna play. If the game is shit, they're not gonna play. It's as simple as that. If you're releasing a dog shit game on day one, and oh guys, just wait, it'll be good in like a year or two. Like that's not how gamers operate. That's how developers operate. That's not how consumers operate.
Of course, battle passes. So what's the solution? Well, for me personally, I often choose to play older games. I still play new ones, but more often than not, I'm still on those older titles that I know and love. I play Titanfall 1 and 2 religiously and revisit the older Battlefield or Halo games from time to time. This is the easy answer, but there's a problem. Titles like all of the old COD games still have their servers online, but they're extremely unprotected, and it's not.
Oh, yep. There's no support for them. I think just like, well, not recently, but like a couple months ago, they did who was it? Was it EA or Activision or was it Microsoft that they like reset the servers and made all the COD games that have like good servers now or something like that? But that's still like, they're not going to have the same amount of like QA people and customer support people like viewing and trying to moderate those servers. So that's just, again, open ground, open season for cheaters to invade the games. Just because they did a server reset doesn't mean that they got all the cheaters out.
Not uncommon for PC players of those games to deal with dangerous malware and security breaches that allow hackers to gain control of your PC. But even if the servers still worked flawlessly, these games will not be around forever. Even if there is just a small but dedicated player base, the game's servers will eventually be taken offline.
Yeah.
Just a few days ago, a lot of old EA titles were permanently shut down.
Dang.
This will happen to all games with multiplayer components.
Was it EA's best multiplayer games have now shut down for good? Battlefield Bad Company 2. Dead Space 2. Wait, there's a Dead Space 2 server? What? Crisis 3 and a handful of other EA games have finally had their online services shut down. Huh. That's crazy.
Games that are and were primarily multiplayer will
And you know what? All this is happening to online games, like live service games. You know what type of game this doesn't happen to? A console game. Just look at the fighting game community. Look at Super Smash Bros. Melee. That game has weathered the storm of time itself. Like if you can beat time, you are unkillable. All right? But no. Just because of the sheer logistics of it, I think. Because a fighting game, what do you need? Like two people, a console, and some controllers. And then you're chilling. What do you need to have a 4v4 S&D Call of Duty match? You got to have the game up and running. The servers are on. You got to have 8 computers. You got to have mouse pads, the desk, all the peripherals, the controllers, the whatever, all like the headsets to communicate, all this extra shit going on. It's like there's too much logistical bullshit that goes into having like a 4v4 thing go on, or like let's say Overwatch, or like a 5v5 thing, or look at Apex. What is that? You need to have, what is it, like 60 people to do a match? That's a logistical nightmare. You gotta have 60 computers and a bunch of other things just connected to each other. That's crazy.
Well and truly die when those servers are powered down for good.
Yeah.
There have been some companies that allow fan projects to recreate old server infrastructure, or even more rarely, release the server code themselves. EverQuest Project 99 comes to mind. The original game has been faithfully recreated to allow users to still hop online, just about a quarter of a century later. But there are so many more games that just fade away, forever, never to be truly experienced again, and that makes me really sad. There's been a lot of discussion these days around people who have the desire to archive and save old game titles that are disappearing, which is awesome. Like, it's amazing, and I have a lot of respect for their work. I hope eventually multiplayer titles will begin to have more of a focus in those projects as well. And maybe one day, there could be an expectation of releasing old server code as a way to preserve history.
I mean, that is an option, because look at World of Warcraft. You know, they have their main retail line of games and expansions, and what they do, a lot of people were chirping up enough to the point where they wanted to have old servers back. They wanted to play WoW Classic again. They wanted to play TBC. They wanted to play Wrath of the Lich King, and now they're going to come out with Cataclysm. All right. And then on top of that, there's more people chirping about, oh, we want to go back and play the old game still, but with like a little bit of twist. So Season of Mastery came out, Season of Discovery came out. You got what else? You got WoW Hardcore. All right, one death equal delete, that whole thing. So that's an MMO that I would probably say still successfully did it. Why should like FPSs be relegated to just something that just comes and goes, like a sunset, like a sun up and a sun down?
The day comes though when my favorite games are taken offline for good. You can still find me in those old lobbies, still enjoying myself to this day. And if things never seem to get better with the games industry, well, it's a dark future to envision. One where AAA studios do away with complete all-in-one packages for games and instead entirely embrace the live service model for all future projects. But I think there will always be indie games to fill some of those gaps.
Yeah.
A lot of Battlefield players have found joy in BattleBit Remastered.
Oh, yeah.
And I do think that smaller developers will begin to tackle genre niches that previously have really only been fulfilled by larger studios.
Oh, yeah.
Especially as game design software continues to become cheaper and more accessible to the everyday person. Support the games you love, and support the games that put fun and player enjoyment first and foremost.
Yep.
Support their developers. And don't be afraid to let your voice be heard.
There you go.
Sometimes when I look around at the current state of the gaming genre or the gaming industry, I do get discouraged. But I don't think things will stay like this forever. At least, I hope not.
Here's hoping.
If you made it to the end of this video, then thank you. I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you'd like to see more of my stuff in the future, and take care of yourselves. Happy gaming.
I dig the synthwave throughout the whole thing. For sure. Yep, I'm a fan. Easy. But yeah, you know, there's a lot of games coming out, a lot of games dying, and it just seems like it's an endless cycle, more or less. But no, I think it's all right to like hope for like new games to come out and be good. And I mean, at best, you just ride the wave of the popularity, and hopefully it tapers off slowly rather than drastically. But yeah, I thought it was a good video, and I'm excited to see more. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Later.